And so you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. First, let me just take this opportunity to thank you for having me here. It was truly an honor to come before you and talk about education, something that I'm extremely passionate about. And I know you have very tough decisions on your hands, and I pray for you. And I know you're doing the same, that you're going to pick the right candidate. But again, my name is Eddie Jones Jr. I'm 53 years old. I've been married for 34 years with my wife, Monica Paxton Jones. I have 3 children. I'll tell you about each of these a little bit in just a moment. I have a daughter who's 31, a son is 28, and another son is 19. I love, besides education, I love all sports. I love carpentry. I like to build things. Like to camp. I like to ride my motorcycle. I like spending quality time with my family and my grandkids. You know, I have one really good son-in-law, one really good daughter-in-law, and I know that my youngest son, he's going to pick him a wife that we're going to be really proud of as well. So, on the board, on the next slide, this is my greatest personal accomplishment. If I leave nothing else as a legacy but what you see right there, then I've been a successful man. And I'm very proud of that. And I need to stop for just a moment, because if I don't, I'll be doing you an injustice. I want to introduce the folks that are with me back here. I have my fan club. My wife's in the blue. That's Monica. We were high school sweethearts. We've been married, going to be 35 years this year. She's a licensed cosmetologist, but more importantly, she's a retired teacher. And, you know, a lot of y'all are business people. And if you play your cards right here and you hire me, you're going to get 2 for the price of 1. Because she probably volunteers as much time in my school now as many people. And she's 100% behind whatever I do, and I can promise you, if I'm in Annapolis, you'll get tired of seeing her, because she's all about kids. I have my daughter. She's my oldest. She's a teacher, but more importantly, right now, she's a stay-at-home mom. She takes care of my grandbabies, and 2 of them are in school. One will be in school in a couple of years, and the call is already nudging at her when my youngest grandchild gets back in school. She'll be back in education. And, you know, also with me is my sister-in-law, Miss Melanie Miller. She's a huge part of the success. She's a valuable member of our educational leadership team at my school, and she does a tremendous amount of work that allows us to accomplish some of the things that we're going to accomplish. But my grandkids, I've got to mention their name. I have Gannon, Gunner, Griffin, and Emma Reese, and Ryder. And today is Ryder's birthday. Haven't gotten to see him yet, but I plan on making a phone call as soon as I get out of here. So happy birthday to Ryder. My middle son, Brady, he's a electrician at Weyerhaeuser. He kind of takes after me a little bit. He likes to build things. He likes to work with his hands. He's extremely good at what he does, and we're proud of him. And my youngest son, who graduated last year, he's a police officer in Sabine Parish. He's currently pursuing a degree in criminal justice, and his ambition is to attend the State Police Academy. And all those people that I named to you, my son-in-law, Lance, he's a vice president at Sabine Bank, and my daughter-in-law is an RN at Fort Polk in Leesville. All those people are products of Northwestern State University, as well as me and my wife. So, Fortune Demons. So, as far as education, probably one of the things that I'm really proud of is I'm a 2000 graduate of the Louisiana Superintendent's Academy. I was a part of the inaugural class of that organization Dr. Jim Mesa is over that, and let me tell you, that was the best and most intense year of professional development that I've ever experienced. I learned so much about education while I was in that program under his direction. He's a really great guy, and that is a super, super fine program. Have all my education from Northwestern. Very proud to go around and say that. And I'm very interested in the ongoings there as well. Now, I'm certified as a district superintendent, district supervisor, school principal, certified to teach physical education, health, and yes, I'm an English teacher. And you know, there's nothing better to me as a teacher than when I was teaching 9th grade students, Romeo and Juliet, in the classroom, and I missed that. But I love to teach kids. I've received tons of certifications in professional development for multiple positions. I'm finishing my 30th year in education. Now, I don't want that to turn you off. I don't want you to think I'm somebody that's the end of my career, okay? I'm a person that when I do get home about dark, there's always stuff that I'm going to do, and I am not a sit around on the porch type guy. I attend to my hobbies, I chase my grandkids, and you know, I probably, with my health holds out, and I'm in really good health, I feel like I can work 20 more years. I'm just passionate about education, and I have a love for it. I love kids. Spent all my time in Beauregard, Sabine parishes, and I've been principal at Florian High School for 16 years. You know, I've served in every capacity in the school system, from classroom teacher, coach, athletic director, assistant principal, and principal. In my capacity as principal, I'm the instructional leader of the school. It all falls on me. The buck stops with me. And I'm also responsible for the day-to-day operations of the school. As far as teaching, I've taught English, reading, physical education, health, every grade from K to 12. I've served as the Jump Start liaison for Sabine Parish, and it was part of my duty for the parish as the lead principal was to help develop the Jump Start program when it came out a few years ago. Very proud of the work we were able to do there, and I think the Jump Start initiative is huge for not only the success of Natchez Parish in the future, but for the success of our state in the future. I've served on numerous district level committees, you know, the calendar committee, SPED committee, and alternative school committee. Next is my related experience. I'm not just an educator. I'm an elected public official. I've been the mayor of Village of Florien the same amount of times I've been principal of Florien. It all just fell in my lap at one time. I was just elected to my 5th term as mayor. And I'm very proud of that. Chief Executive Officer there. A lot of people don't know it, but in that capacity, I get to serve as a city court judge for traffic citations and minor offenses. And I prepare and manage all the budgets there. Very proud that the last 3 years, our village has been the runner-up in the cleanest city in Louisiana in our category. And that's sponsored by Keep Louisiana Beautiful. Member of several professional organizations, National Association of Elementary School Principals, LACE, LAP, all the acronyms. I don't want to insult your intelligence. I've served on the Louisiana High School Athletic Association Executive Committee. I certainly serve on the School Relations Committee in that capacity. I've been the chairman of District 3 Principals Association for 10 years. I'm a member of Antioch Baptist Church. Served 20 years in the Florien Lions Club. I was president of the Sabine Free State Festival for 5 years, and I'm currently the president of Florien Christmas in the Village Festival, and I've been in that capacity ever since I've been mayor. Served as a Sunday school teacher previously. Some school academic accomplishments. We're an A-rated school, plus Top Games Award in 2016 and 17, Top Games Award in 17-18, Top Games Award 18-19. We've had an A or B status for our SPS score 11 of the last 12 years. And we've been recognized numerous times by U.S. News and World Report as one of the best high schools in the nation for our class. And they take into consideration a lot of things, including poverty level, whether you're rural or urban, and your course offerings and your subgroup data. Athletic accomplishments, in the last 10 years, it speaks for itself. At our school, we've had 6 state championships, 1 state runner-up, and 9 Final Four appearances in the sports that we offer. And we offer basketball, softball, and baseball. So my school has been pretty successful athletically. But, and if I have any time left, I want to defer that so that you can ask questions. But that's kind of me in a very quick snapshot.
Your additional handout, is the entry plan, were you gonna cover that on the end or cover that now? Or?
I really put that in your hands for informational purposes. I'll be happy to speak toward that plan.
That's fine.
It's, you know, it's whatever you want me to do. I'm here to answer your questions.
We appreciate you putting this together. It'll give us the opportunity to study it at a different time. Thank you.
Yes.
We're at a point where we will begin asking you questions, and we won't be making eye contact at all times because we'll be taking some notes, so we apologize for that in the future.
You just don't want to hear what I have to say.
Well, we want to capture your thoughts, so we can take them home and study.
I understand.
Kind of like your book, but no, thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Corn.
Yes, sir. First question, what is your philosophy on discipline anymore?
My philosophy on discipline is we as educators need to do everything within our power each day to keep those kids in school. The easy way out is saying you're going home for 3 days for not having a belt. That's the easy way out. Okay. The hard thing to do is figure out why that student doesn't have a belt and fix the problem. And then you won't have the symptoms of them not having it. So my philosophy is very simple. By whatever means necessary, keep the kids in school. If you're having discipline problems and you're sending too many kids home, or you're pulling too many kids out of the classroom for in-school suspension or something else, they're missing that day-to-day quality instruction that no computer can give them, that nobody else can give them on the street. They're missing that quality instruction. So when you're having discipline problems and you're taking kids out of the classroom, the direct relationship with that is your test scores are going to suffer. So my philosophy is, by whatever means necessary, keep them in the classroom. Now I do understand there are times when that's just not possible. I understand that. And unfortunately, that's the world that we live in, that's reality. But rather than put them out on the street, let's put them into alternative schools. Let's put them into alternative schools where they can receive quality instruction there as well. Sometimes kids just need to change of place. And sometimes that's enough. Thank you.
Mr. Jones, in front of you, you should see the questions, and so you can read along as we ask.
Jones. What are your thoughts on having visual, performing arts, and music in our schools? And how would you allocate or find funding for these programs?
It's funny that you ask that. You're sitting there and you're asking an English teacher my thoughts on visual, performing arts, music in the schools. It's absolutely got to be there. Okay? It is a huge part of academic success for students. And I think those areas are far underutilized in all schools, not just in Natchez Parish. I think it's extremely important that as educators, we need to do everything in our power to make sure that kids are receiving quality instruction in these areas. Heck, what better place does Natchez have than Northwestern? I bring my kids over here for performances numerous times a year. And it's a burden. Bus driver, get them over here, get them back, get them fed. It's so easy here. It's right there. So, as far as funding it, I don't have all the budget answers. I can speak towards your budget. But if I'm your superintendent, we're gonna figure out a way to make it work. I love all these. I love music. Heck, I got no telling how many songs on my playlist right now. Okay? And we incorporate it into our daily activity at school. So as superintendent, it's got to be in there for Matthews to move to the next level.
Any follow-up? Mr. Davis?
What experience do you have in budgets? And in a deficit year, what would be your analysis to rectify the situation?
Well, Mr. Danzy, I remember from last time you were a budget guy, so I knew you were gonna ask that question. I have basically, I've been mayor 16 years. But prior to that, I was athletic director at a Class 2A school. I was in charge of all athletic budgets. But that's ancient history. Let's talk about the last 16 years. Since I've been mayor, we've operated in the black every year for 16 years. We've got, and I don't mean to speak down to you, and I hope I'm not doing that. We've gotten an unqualified audit from our auditors every year. We've been in the black with only minor citations of ways we could make improvements. So I'm very proud of that. And that was during the downfall when the economy was not doing really good. So I'm very proud of that. Same thing with my school budgets. So that's my experience with the budget. I am responsible for the village for making and implementing that budget. That includes not only the general fund, that includes the utility fund, that includes the wastewater fund, and that includes public service, which is the police department fund. I'm responsible for all of those. All of those budgets have operated in the black for 16 years. And just for my school budgets, they've operated in the black for 16 years. And that's the only way I know how to do it. Now, as far as if you were looking at a deficit year, and I hate to say this, because I don't want you to take it the wrong way. The first thing you gotta do is look at where the money's being spent, okay? And I know that you know the biggest part of any school district budget is spent on personnel. So that's where you gotta look first, because there's not a whole lot of other places that you can make up that deficit. Now, I'm not saying that means a bunch of people losing their job. By no means am I saying that. But what you need to do if you're gonna be operating in a budget, and I'm gonna address that a little bit later in my summary, what you need to do if you're operating in a budget, you need to make sure you're not overstaffed. And there's staffing formulas that you can use to help you judge that. So personnel would be the first place I'd look. And then I'd just look and see if there's anything that the district is spending money on that maybe no one realizes that's really not a big issue that we could maybe do away with. But you're gonna have to look at personnel. That's where your biggest expense comes.
If I had a follow-up question, what would you do in the process? You just answered that, so thank you.
I have a question first. Have you, the principal, have you ever been a principal in a district this large, this size?
No, ma'am, I've only been principal at my current school. I've been there 16 years. I worked previously in Class 2A size schools. You know, my village, you know, we probably have 800 residents. So that's what I've worked with. And, you know, I don't really think there's a lot of difference between what I'm doing and what would be done here. It's the same principle, and I think it'd just be a good transition. I mean, good accounting principles are good accounting principles. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with a very small budget or a very large budget. So the fact that I haven't ever been in charge of something as large as the Natchez Parish school system, I don't see that as being a problem.
Thank you. Now, it's a question to you.
Yes, ma'am.
How will you advise the board of all situations and issues that pertain to the schools, students and faculties in a timely manner.
Did y'all get my notes ahead of time? I had some of these things written down, so I feel like you asked me what I wanted you to ask. So that's a great question, and there's multiple steps to that. First and foremost, as superintendent, y'all have to be informed, because when the rubber meets the road, guess who's making the decision? You're the one casting the votes on stuff. So what I plan to do, when I'm superintendent, I'm gonna set aside a time with you each week, 30 minutes, possibly an hour. That is your time. My schedule will be cleared every week at 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning for Pastor Harris, if that's what time he chooses. And for that hour, we're gonna meet and have breakfast, or I'm gonna call him, or we're just gonna conversate about issues that he may be having, or things that I need him to know. And I'm gonna do that each week. Okay? Next, in light of the technology age, I'm gonna create social media sites. Okay? And this is something new for me. I'm gonna use social media to communicate with the public, with the teachers, and the students. What better way? Everybody has it. Okay? Everybody has it. So it's a resource that we as educators need to utilize more. And I have a story about technology, but I'll save that for a later time, about my school. And in addition to those two things, I'm going to develop a newsletter. We'll call it the Navigus Navigation. I'm going to send that out either bi-weekly or monthly. I'm going to send it out digitally to every stakeholder in the community. Now, there may be 3 different versions of that same letter. There might be something in that letter that only you need to see. And there might be something else that we add that everybody can see. And then there might be something, another version of that letter that just goes to the students. But I'm going to have that, deliver that electronically, make sure all the local media outlets, the radios, the newspaper, will make sure they have copies of that. So there should never be a question about what's going on in the Natchez Parish school system. And last but not least, I'm going to be out there face to face. My job as principal in my school and my job as superintendent of this district is not in that office, behind that desk, in that chair. Now, there's a time and place for that, but the more time that I have spent in there, the less time I get to spend with what's the most important factor in this district, and that's the kids. So, in every minute that I have, I'm going to be out there in the public, shaking hands. I'm going to be to the community. I'm going to be at the sporting events. I'm going to be at the activities. I'm going to be at Northwestern. I'm going to be where the kids and the stakeholders of Natchez Parish are.
Any follow-up with that, board member?
Second point, how would you ensure that parents are made aware of any information pertaining to their children? If it's an emergency situation or something, so they should be made aware of. How would you ensure that they would be notified timely?
There are systems in place in Natchez, just like there are in my school, where we can contact them digitally through J-Campus and the parent portal. That's one way. The old-fashioned way, pick up the phone, call the parent, and say, hey. Now, a lot of times, as superintendent, I may not get to do that. But as superintendent, I'm going to ensure that the people in charge at the schools, whether it be the counselors or the assistant principals or the principal, that they're returning phone calls. There's nothing that aggravates me more than for somebody not to return a phone call. And I'm going to ensure that that's going to happen in a timely manner. And that's going to eliminate a lot of problems. Because one of the very first things that I was taught in my master's program is you always, as a principal, you make sure that your story beats the kid's story home. So principals or whomever's in charge, they're going to be called.
Thank you.
Well,
Mr. Jones, you've done a lot of research, and based on that knowledge, what do you perceive are the top 3 issues in our parish, and what are your plans to address them?
very good question. I think the number one problem in Natchez Parish education system today is lack of staff morale. It's lack of morale. I think Natchez Parish has great educators. But even we as educators get beat down from the day-to-day work and the amount of hours that we have to put in. And there's nothing that makes me feel better than for my superintendent to say, hey, I appreciate the job you're doing. And there's nothing, according to my teachers, that make them feel better than me to walk down the hall and say, hey, Ms. Funderburg, you did a really good job today. Or I like what I saw in your classroom this morning. So staff morale is huge. You gotta recognize them and you gotta reward them. And it doesn't take much. They love chocolate. And I tell you what, I can dangle a carrot. Matter of fact, I can dangle a carrot in my school, and if I entice them that they can wear jeans on Friday, they'll kill somebody. Okay? So it doesn't take much. It doesn't really cost a lot of money. Just got to figure out what they like and use it against them. So staff morale is the utmost problem. If you don't have good staff morale, your test scores are going to suffer. So you got to fix that problem first. So another way I'm going to fix that problem, in that plan, Mr. Benefield, in the first 100 days, less than that, first 45 days, I'm going to be in every classroom in Natchez Parish, all 398 of them. I'm going to do it. I'm going to look that teacher in the eye and say, I appreciate the job that you're doing in education, and we're going to develop a plan, and we're all going to get better together. So that's enough on staff morale. Another thing that I think is a big problem in Natchez Parish, and it might be a touchy situation, but you know what? I'm not afraid. We got to address the 3 failing schools. That's huge. Now, I don't know all the issues going on there. I don't, because I haven't been in those schools. I would love to have been when I was driving around, but I didn't think that was proper. My wife said, no, you're not going. But we've got to address student achievement, not just in those 3 failing schools. We've got to address student achievement in every school in Natchez Parish. I don't care. If you're an A, so what? Until every kid makes an advance on every test, and every kid has an associate's degree by the time they leave high school, we're not doing our job. We can always be better. Now, is that all possible? Probably not. But that's what we have to shoot for. So, address the 3 failing schools, student achievement in those failing schools, and overall student achievement. It's got to be better. And last, this kind of goes back to maybe your question, Mr. Gorner. There are 8 schools in Natchez Parish. They're in urgent intervention because of discipline issues. What in the world is going on? What in the world is going on? Are we putting them on the street? We gotta figure out a way to keep them in school. We've gotta eliminate that 8. We gotta go figure out what the problem is, and we have to address it. That's got to happen quick. That's gotta happen quick. So just to summarize, back to staff morale, address 3 failing schools and all student achievement, and address the 8 schools that are in urgent intervention because of discipline issues.
So is that included in your 100-day plan, the 8 schools?
I plan on visiting every school in
What I'm
the
talking
district. Yes,
about, diagnosing that issue.
yes, sir. And, you know, I can stand here and I can speculate, but that's all I'm doing. I can speculate as to why that is an issue at those schools. Because you know what? Those 8 schools in urgent intervention, that's a symptom. I want to know what the problem is. That's a symptom. So yes, that's a part of my 100-day plan. Be in those schools, talk to the administrators, talk to the teachers, talk to the kids, and let's figure out what's going on and let's fix the problem. Keep them in school. Putting a kid out of school should be the last resource that we use. We've got to keep them in school.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any follow-up, board member?
You mentioned, one, source to alleviate the problem would be to send them to the alternative school. Sometimes there are other measures, but other intervention measures would you use besides,
It's a great question.
referral to the alternative?
Great question. I've got a great answer for you. And it's worked really well at my school. And it'll work in Agnes Parish. We probably use community service more than any other discipline method that we have. It's win-win. We're addressing the discipline problem, and they're doing something that's constructive. Not only, in my case, it's for the school, okay? They come to school on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. and they stay to 12 a.m. and they perform community service. Now, as a caveat of that, most of those kids that are coming to community service are also the kids that are behind. So guess what we do for a couple of hours? We tutor them. So we're getting extra intervention for those kids. We're letting them perform community service so they take a little pride in our building, in our community. And I'm able to do that by paying a teacher to be there. So win, win, win. Community service. Well,
Mr. Jones, let me say this. We did identify one of the problems, the 8 schools is cultural diversity,
sure.
and there was a disconnect. And I recognized, even as a Black male, that I was disconnected from my own community with some things that they would do. And I'm like, hey, look, we got some situations. So that was important, and we were addressing it. And I say it again, we were addressing it.
Yes.
Hopefully we will continue.
I think what you just mentioned is paramount. And listen, y'all might have to cut me off. I can go here. I mean, I've got tons of research I'd love to talk to you about, but I know we don't have time.
Sorry about that.
Good evening, Mr. Jones. What steps would you take to evaluate the current leadership positions within the central office? Provide a time when you had to repurpose an employee to move to a more productive position.
That's a great question. And I'm assuming that all the leadership positions in the central office are on contract, and they have performance objectives that they have to meet. So the very first thing I'm going to do in those first 100 days at my individual meetings with all of those people, we're going to pull out those folks' performance contract, and we're going to see if they're meeting the objectives that they said that they were going to meet. that should have been developed by the superintendent and your input to a certain degree in that individual. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna look at the performance contract. If they're not meeting their objectives, we're gonna figure out why, and we're gonna make some adjustments. Now, I don't believe in running people off. I don't. I believe in remediating people and getting them to where they need to be, or where I think they should be. So I'm gonna evaluate performance contracts.
Okay, can you provide a time where you had to resurface an employee?
Oh, absolutely. You want one from a higher position to a lower, or a lower position to a higher? Both? Okay, very good. I've been principal for about 3 years at my current school. At that time, we were a 7-12 school. Our elementary school, pre-K, 6 was in the same building. 2 separate administrations. It got time for my good friend, Mr. Maxey, to retire. So the superintendent comes and said, you know what? With a number of kids, I think you can do this job. I said, okay, great. So at that time, we had 2 instructional coaches. And from that point, we had a grant that we were being paid by the state to provide literacy instruction to our students. We had a literacy coach that was over that part of it. We as a school, me included, and in particular we weren't meeting the performance standards that we needed to make. So brought her in, we talked about it, she understood, she went from literacy coach back to the classroom, been doing a great job ever since. One of the most valuable people on my faculty. That's one from top down. From the bottom up, and I love this. This could probably answer some other questions that I'm going to assume are coming. One of the very first years as principal, I had a lady in my school that was a paraprofessional. Best paraprofessional we ever had. She started out as child specific, and that child moved on, so she became a classroom aide. Well, lo and behold, get to look around, she has 2 years of college. So I started saying, all right, what's the deal here? And she says, I went to school and, wound up having kids and just want to be a paraprofessional. I said, no, let's go back to school. Well, so I started nudging. My wife started nudging. That's what really got the ball rolling. So this paraprofessional went back to school, still worked, get to see quality instruction every day because she's working in the school system. Finishes her degree, gets certified. Well, it just so happens about the time she gets certified, I have a vacancy. So I moved her from paraprofessional to teacher. And that's not the end of the story. Get emotional, I'm sorry. So from that point, she's teaching kindergarten, life is good. She says, hey, you know what? It wasn't too difficult for me to get certified. I'm going to go back and get my master's degree. I said, great. She goes back, gets her master's degree, teaches 2 or 3 more years. My graduation coach retires. So guess what? I go say, Miss Kim, went back to school, you got your master's degree. It's time for you to move up. So she went from paraprofessional to classroom teacher to graduation coach. Huge part of my instructional team today. Could not make it without. So, and you got people in Natchitoches Parish, I promise you, you have those people in those schools that are paraprofessionals, in some cases secretaries, maybe custodians, they've got college experience. They need somebody to go point them out and say, we need you. Because, at the end of the day, if you're like we are in Savannah, you don't have hundreds of people to choose from for teachers each year. You better be growing them yourself. That's what I want to do. You're welcome.
So, Mr. Jones, do you think that comes from principals being able to look and see that and be inspiring to?
I do, but and probably early on in my career, I was guilty of what I'm about to say. I think sometimes we can't see the forest for looking at the trees. They're there. We just have to go find them. We can't sit around and wait for them to come to us. We've got to grow teachers. Matter of fact, one of the great things that's going on in Actors Parish, it needs to be even bigger than it is. Go on, no question. Went yesterday to Educator Rising Conference over there. You know, we got to take kids who have an interest in education. We got to get them in that program, and we got to mold them into what we want to be. So when they graduate, they go right on to SU to the education program, and then we get first bite of the apple when they come back here.
Mr. McGuire?
What experience do you have had with transportation programs, and how do you manage a contract system?
Well, I've had, counting my time as athletic director, I've had 20 or 25 years of experience with transportation. Matter of fact, I dealt with 2 transportation issues today at my school. Now, believe it or not, where we live, I've got some roads that the buses can't go down right now because it's too bad. It's been raining for 3 weeks. So I had to use some of that technology we talked about to let those parents know that bus is not running this afternoon, nor will it run tomorrow. So as athletic director, I was in charge of maintaining all the buses, keeping up with mileage, keeping up with maintenance, making sure there was fuel. That was my job. As principal, you know, my phone rings periodically from time to time at 10 minutes till 6 in the morning. Matter of fact, one of the bus drivers I dealt with today called me at 10 minutes till 6. Hey, you know, over here on such and such road, I'm not going to be able to get down. I said, tell you what, go as far as you can, and then when it gets too bad, turn around and come back. That's what we did. Now, as far as a contracted system, I have no idea. I've never dealt with that. I've heard a few positive things about a contracted system. I've heard a lot of negative things about a contracted system. I can't really address that. But I know this, if the transportation system in Natchez Parish is a problem, I'm not gonna put my head in the sand and wait for it to correct itself. We're going to whoever is the CEO of the transportation company, and we're gonna come to an agreement, or we're gonna get somebody else. I mean, that's a business. They're providing a service, but we need to make sure we're getting a good return on our investment.
Any follow-up, Madam Board? Reverend Harris?
All right. How will you ensure equitable opportunities grounded in support, tools, resources, and time to learn despite race, zip code, or family background?
Very good question. Equity is something we shouldn't even be having to talk about in 2020. Shouldn't be. But yet it still remains to be a problem. I'm a supporter of all students. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your race is. You're a student of this district. You are important. And as superintendent and as board members and principals and teachers, it's our responsibility to make sure that every child that walks in those classrooms is getting what they need and being delivered in an equitable manner. Same with the promotion factor from within. You know, we have got to make sure that we're promoting people in an equitable manner based on performance standards. Now again, those leaders in the district, they're not just going to come to us. I, as superintendent, I've got to go find them. I've got to go find those people that are classroom teachers, and I've got to observe them and see that they possess the qualities that we need as a system, and I've got to be the one that nudges them along the way to get the credentials that they need to be able to be put in the leadership positions. So we have to grow those within. And as far as equity, if the schools in Natchez Parish aren't receiving equitable funds, then shame on us. And as superintendent, I will ensure that that happens.
Do you believe that we are as strong as our weakest link?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse to death, but if those three failing schools aren't addressed, and it's nothing against anybody, that's a lot of times what people focus on. They can't see all the positive stuff, or saying, we got 8 in urgent intervention because of discipline, and we have 3 that are failing. Let's fix that problem, and they don't have anything to focus on. They can see the greater good of the entire system.
Thank you.
Any follow up that, Ruben? Ms. Butler?
Yes, please explain your description of an instructional leader and provide specific examples of how you have demonstrated this quality with faculty and staff.
You're looking at it. I'm the instructional leader of my school. The only way I know how to do that is lead by example. And in order to do that, I have to be the hardest working person at my school. Now, don't get me wrong, I have people who work their fingers to a bone. But they have to see me doing the things that I'm asking them to do. Because as a boss or a supervisor, if you're not willing to do the things that you're asking your employees to do, they're not going to do it. I learned that lesson a long time ago before I got to be in education. And because I had a boss who did that to me, he didn't ask me to do anything that he wasn't willing to do. So I've carried that over into education. But as far as instructional leader, I present professional development to my faculty. Every day, no. Every time it happens, no. But I'm involved in it. I have my hand in it. I make sure the things that need to be getting done are getting done. I make sure they have the materials they need. In the past, I've gone down, matter of fact, I was an English teacher, and it was kind of a joke when it got springtime. My English 1 teacher, she'd come by and say, hey, and you want to come teach a lesson? And I always taught Casey at the bat, perform Casey at the bat in the spring. So, once we did that, every spring she'd come back. It's getting close to opening day of baseball season. You gonna come teach Casey at the bat? Absolutely. Have to model quality instruction for teachers. And as principal, that's what I do. And as superintendent, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not beyond the superintendent going down to that English 1 class and say, hey, it's getting close to opening day for baseball season. Do you mind if I come teach a little bit? I'm not. That's not below me. I'd love to do that.
Any problem? Ms. Willis?
Mr. Jones, how do you plan to introduce yourself to the community, to our local businesses and our staff?
I'll be happy to answer that. It's in that plan. I'll give you a brief description for the sake of time. Within the first week that I'm here, I'm going to send out a letter via social media. Okay, that's the first thing I'm going to do. That's going to social media. It's going to every faculty and staff member in this district. Next, I'm going to every school face-to-face meetings. In addition to that, I'm going to the stakeholders in this community, and I'm going to meet with them. One of the very first people I will meet with is Dr. Chris Madjo. I'm going to him. I'm going to the technical college. I'm going to the banks. I'm going to be in the community. Every time there's a luncheon, they're going to say, you just can't come back, Mr. Jones. I'm going to be there, because if I'm not promoting the good stuff that's going on in this district, who is? I have to be that person that's putting it out there to the community. The community, in my drivings around and my research, they are begging for it, I'm gonna give it to them.
I have a follow-up question. How could you, in your own words, make school fun again, make it more attractive to children who, has had a bad experience and it's kind of like giving up on school? How could you make it more attractive?
I don't think there's a blanket policy or an activity that we could do. I'm gonna start by music. You know, at my school in the pickup line in the afternoon, I haven't done it this year, it's kind of got away from, we play music in the afternoon and celebrate. We going home. My parents love it, my kids love it. And that may or may not work somewhere, I don't know. And what works in the city schools may not work at, Montville, may not work at Promise, I don't know. But what you have to do to make education fun, you have to figure out what the kids are interested in. Now, for me and my grandkids, I know if I want to get a rider whose birthday today to do something, we start talking about fishing and it is on. Okay? If I want to get Gunner, my other grandson, if I want to get him to do something, we start naming all major league players and NBA players and it is on. Now, the other ones aren't quite old enough yet that works with, but you got to figure out what they're interested in, and you got to feed them. You got to dangle the carrot.
Any follow-up? Ms. Gibbons?
How do you plan to monitor legal critical indicators to support all children performing at grade level or above? And how would you communicate this information to the staff?
I think you have to look at at what level students are performing. If they're above grade level, great. Let's get them above grade level. If they've mastered what they need to know in 4th grade, let's move them to the 5th grade curriculum. Is that easy to do when you have 25 kids in your classroom? Absolutely not. Is that what we need to do for the betterment of every kid in that classroom? Absolutely so. That's called differentiated instruction. And it's got to be a part of every teacher's repertoire every day they walk in that classroom. What's good for you, Ms. Guidros, may not be good for Mr. Benefield. And as a teacher, if I'm teaching to the middle of y'all, I'm doing both of you an injustice. And as superintendent, not only will I communicate that to the principals, I will personally communicate that to the teachers as well. Because, again, I'm going to be in those classrooms. Now, I said in the first 90 days, I'm going in all 398 of them. That's just a start. My goal is to be in as many classrooms each day and each week as time allows. How else am I going to know what's going on if I'm not there to see it?
Any follow-up? Mr. Jones, we are at the point where our questions are complete, and you were right on schedule with 8 minutes left for your closing remarks.
We can't go another home?
We would, but the people behind you would get a little upset.
Burst my bubble. You know, in closing, I know I probably got a little emotional, I probably got a little loud. That's because I'm passionate about kids, okay? And in addition, before I say anything else, let me apologize to you and to all my staff that I know is back watching, and to everybody else for the overuse of the pronoun I. Okay? Because I have not achieved anything alone. You know, everything that I have achieved in my career is a result of God's blessing. That woman sitting right back there who supports me 100% in everything that I do. A supportive family, who some of them are back there, some of them couldn't be here. And last but not least, both present and past teams of professional educators who have been assembled at my school and my community to do what's best for students and the community. So they are why I am here. I've been able to surround myself with great people because no one can do it alone. No one. No, in doing my months, and let me back it up, I'm not going to even say money, doing my years worth of research for this position in Natchez, I was able to confirm in my research and in my going around and visiting the communities, I was able to confirm what I already knew deep down, but I had to go see it and I had to go hear it from the people. Did you realize Natchez is sitting on a gold mine? Let me say that again. Natchez is sitting on a gold mine. Natchez has every resource that a parish or a school system could possibly want or even need. It's here. Northwestern, huge resource. The technical college, that is a resource that is sorely undertapped. There are 100 seats in that building right now that Natchez Parish students could be sitting in, getting dual enrollment credit and getting jump start credentials that put them ready to enter the workforce when they graduate that are not being utilized. Why? I'm going to fix that problem. Natchez has the interstate infrastructure, the port, an airport, a great hospital that's made a huge turnaround in the last couple of years. A great diverse culture, okay? And a community out there, believe it or not, that is wholeheartedly ready and willing to support this school system. You have the necessary funds in your budget, Mr. Danzig, to do what needs to be done. And last, but certainly not least, Natchez has quality educators who want to do every day what's best for students of Natchez Parish. Many systems across this state would die to have all the resources that Natchez has. Many systems across this state are being far more successful with fewer resources than Natchez. Now, each of these resources that I'm talking about, standing alone, are necessary components for a successful community and for a successful educational system. But, what if all those resources were working together as one for the betterment of the students of Natchez Parish? What would happen? I can tell you, Natchez Parish and the educational system of Natchez Parish would literally explode. All the Natchez Parish school system needs is a leader who can come in and put all the pieces of the puzzle together for the betterment of the students. I'm that person. Anyone can come in here and they can use all the buzzwords in education today. You know, collaboration, team building, SPS, PLCs, fidelity, the big F word, advanced placement, dual enrollment, jump start, professional development, countless other words that are out there, that all of those have an important place in the educational system. Anybody can come in here and tell you that. More important, anybody can come in here and tell you about the so-called problems you have in Natchez Parish, such as the 3 failing schools, another school that's a D school. They come in here and tell you, hey, you got 3 A schools, great job. They come tell you you have 8 schools who are on urgent intervention because of discipline. And that comes from the state. And they can come in here and tell you all the positive acclaim that every school has to offer. Anybody can come in here and tell you that you have a $48 million budget. And that in the last couple of years, you've only been operating at a 3% advantage. And they come in here and tell you that 3 years ago you operated in a deficit. Anyone come in here and tell you that the students at Natchez Parish are performing lower than what they should be doing on the standardized test? I'm not just talking about the kids at the fellow schools, I'm talking about the kids at the A schools. Until they all are advanced, we're not meeting their needs. Everything that I just mentioned to you are not problems. They are symptoms. We as educators need to ask why we're having these symptoms. What's the problem? Too many times, educators want to treat the symptoms rather than finding out what the problem is and why the problem is causing the symptoms. What if your doctor treated you like that? What if your auto mechanic treated your car like that? We would not accept that. We find that totally unacceptable. So why do we, as educators, allow this practice to occur over and over and again and again in the education system? I have no idea. Most candidates will come in here and offer you a plan to treat the symptoms of Natchez Parish without first discovering what the problems are. Anyone can come in here with a plan to treat the symptoms. But anybody that comes in here with a plan that's addressing the symptoms, they're not headed in the right direction. And you're probably going to get the same results you've been getting. Now, I have placed before you a plan detailing what I will do the first 100 days in office. To not only look at the symptoms that I've mentioned, but others. Look at them in detail, and more importantly, find out what the real problems are, and addressing how I plan to treat those problems so that the symptoms go away. To do anything else by anybody is going to be unacceptable. It all boils down to this. And you as members of this board have a monumental decision before you to make not only your current students, employees, and citizens of Natchez Parish, but also for the future of Natchez Parish. You're getting ready to make a decision that's going to affect students that haven't been born yet, that are going to have to perform jobs that haven't been invented yet. That's reality. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll hurry. I feel that as a board, you need to ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, do we need change? I think we all know the answer to that. Number 2, are you willing to accept the change and do whatever it takes to make this change happen? And number 3, are we willing to make the right decision to put a leader in place who can put all the pieces of the puzzle together that can facilitate the change of Natchez Parish, the students of Natchez Parish, and Title II? Again, I'm that person. I'm going to leave you this, and I'll shut up, I promise, Mr. Benfield. Success is setting goals for students. Planning the steps required for students to achieve those goals. Effectively implementing that plan, and then measuring the students' results. Once students have achieved those goals, we have succeeded. But it doesn't stop there. Once success is replicated over and over and over and over for 16 years in a row, then you have excellence. Let me be that person for you. Thank you, and I apologize for